Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is One of One, but you can call me Seven. And in the last episode of Witch on the Holy Night, our girlies had their aquarium date. Guys, it was lovely, and they keep doing this. Witch on the Holy Night continues to have funny, goofy events, like circumstances surrounding a very serious conversation between characters. We've had one between Shizuki and Tobimaru, and that was amazing. And now we've had one between our two main witches, and it was really important and really good, and also like very revealing of their separate characters. So I loved that. It was awesome, and now we just need to keep moving forward. So let's keep getting through the game. Let's go. All right, so we're back at the house, sun setting early. We're in the middle of that right now. I feel like we've just gotten our first taste of winter today. It's so cold today. Oh yeah, he was watching the show about crocodiles, right? He relaxed on the couch, having had his fill. Oh, sprawling out on the sofa. He's never done this before. 3 straight hours of crocodile watching? Dude, what? Also, did somebody just tap on the window? It was a knocking sound that repeated itself regularly with patient pauses in between. He recognized the cadence from something he'd experienced at his apartment before. The knocking resounded eerily without a doorbell of any kind. Visitors had no choice but to rap on the door using whatever they had in hand. It would take a little iron fist to produce the din Sojiro heard now. Okay. It feels like this is dangerous. Like, I don't know, an ornately built fortification. I mean, this place kind of is. It's the fort that is commanded by Aoko and Alice. Any onslaught of blows rattled in protest. They seem determined to breach the castle. By force if its defender refused to sally forth.
Hi.
This feels like this is the enemy mage, right? Like if Oh, have we met? Hello, ma'am. Hi.
Oh.
Ooh. There stood the second surprise of the day. Struck speechless. Greeted by a young woman who hardly looked the part of a newspaper hawker. Standing in the courtyard against the dusk-lit horizon, she appeared more at home in the European mansion than Sojiro did. Oh my. Okay. Hello. Hi, ma'am. A pleasure to meet you. She carried a dignified air in spite of her dainty frame. While a tad shorter than Sojiro, she was tall for her sex. Her green clothing was subtly colored, yet flashy and clearly inspired by foreign fashion. She seemed prim and proper, yet bold. Though vaguely garish, her appearance spoke of strength and confidence. Sojiro knew all too well that such a woman was not to be. Man, where'd you get those instincts, man? Oh, look at her. Hello. Hi. Only, unlike the one he knew, this stranger appeared more friendly than intimidating. Perhaps it was her short hair that made her look approachable. Short hair supremacy. Y'all already know. Short hair supremacy all day, every single day, without fail. It stopped just above the nape of her neck. Thought it was a shame that she hadn't grown it out. Sojiro, we can't be friends. I'm sorry. Despite seeming visibly older than him, this made her appear impish and cute. Sojiro reacted with suspicion. Oh, my king. Knowing better by now than to fall for a charming smile. At any rate, it was rude to stare. Can I help you? Hell yeah, hell yeah.
Aoko, imasu?
Okay, interesting. She has a young lady voice. Is Aoko home? She asks. I don't know, man. She smiled as she used Aoko's first name with a familiar tone. I don't know, not home right now. I don't know if you want to tell her that. Uh-oh. She smiled again, this time deviously upon learning of Aoko's absence. Miss Kuonji is away? Sojiro looked perplexed. This was the first time he had heard Alice referred to by her last name only, and again, with the familiarity of an old friend. It's nice to hear that they can get out during the day instead of only during the dead of night. I was under the impression that living together was merely a facade, but they really do get along. Sojiro found himself nodding in response to her smile. Yeah, in no small part, thanks to him, right? It was strange enough that the visitor knew both Aoko and Alice, but Sojiro found her odd as well. Likely in her early 20s, she did not appear much older than he was. She was clearly hiding something behind her nonchalant manner and bright smile. My guy is, she's asking all the red flag questions. 100%. My guy is perceptive. He's got that cerebral mindset. Okay, you shouldn't be telling You shouldn't be telling her all this information. Who are you was a question far too difficult for Sojiro.
誰かと言われてもよ
I'm
く
sorry.
わからなくて。
I don't really know how to
とりあえず
answer that.
今は留守番してますけど。
For now, I'm the house sitter. I'm a
実は
friend of
青崎
Aozaki's to tell the truth. It was a response without an ounce of persuasion to it. The young woman's face lit up at what she believed was the boy's attempt to tease her.
へえ、面白いこと言うのね。
Omoshiroi! What's your name, dear?
静木宗十郎というのです。
Dude, I don't know if you want to tell her your name. His shy answer made her giggle. Sojiro had no idea what he'd said that was so funny, but her laugh did not offend him. It came across as warm and affable, rather than derogatory. After she finished giggling, the woman fixed him with a rather tender look.
いや、気に入ったわ。宗十郎君。
Sojiro
君には合わない名前だけど、それも
A
暗示
fine
的で
name
素
for
敵だし。
hypnosis, though it doesn't really suit you. Now then, pour me some tea, would you? I think she's got a misunderstanding of what's going on here.
呆れた。本当。
So she's familiar with the
こっちに持って
place,
きたんだから、悪いとこ。
and she's talking about how run down it is. Yeah. There go her heels. She's walking towards
こっち
the
でしょ。
drawing room. Tea
青崎
time.
かアリス
She knows Aozaki or Alice? I don't know, man. She seems like bad news a little bit. I want her to be a nice person. But twirling with ladylike, or rather girlish glee, breathing in the nostalgia. This TV... Perhaps she had never seen a 30-inch television before? The cathode ray tube was still displaying images of the animal kingdom. He wished he'd stopped the video before he answered the door.
あの
Can I turn that off? Or no, what? Oh. Her intimidating eyes and long, thin eyebrows bored into Sojiro through her spectacles. Ma'am? Now he felt like he had chosen his words very poorly. He apologetically clammed up.
やだな、宗十郎君。もし、なんてかしこまって。
Dude, she's got the crossed arms. Oh my god. This is an archetypal character. She's so like, I'm not saying she's cookie cutter, but like she's got all the hallmarks. I don't even know what to call it. You guys have a better name than I do? Cause I don't know. I don't just want to say, oh, she's the mommy character, but like, cause I feel like she isn't. Maybe she's gonna subvert the trope that we're being presented with. I don't know. I think I'm thinking too hard. Jesus Christ.
私、そんなおばさんに見える
Do I look like some obasan, some old lady? Her disapproving glare melted into a teasing smile. Of course, that wasn't true at all. It would be more accurate to say she had the air of an older sister. Yeah. Or at least that was what Sojiro attempted to express with body language, to which she grinned smugly.
よろしい。なら、そんなた
No formalities. They're beginning to bore me. Without making a sound, she took an effortless seat on the sofa, as naturally as if she belonged there. Her posture and movements exuded sophistication. I mean, look at her go, guys. And she required no words to instruct him to hurry along and make the tea. Without pressing her further, Sojiro headed to the kitchen. Conversation would not proceed until tea had been served. Since she was here to see Aoko, he decided to serve her using Aoko's Sèvres teacup. Into the cup as blue as the ocean depths, he carefully poured the tea before returning to the drawing room. Okay.
あの尋ねるのが遅
Forgive
れ
me for
ま
not
したけ
asking
ど
earlier, but
青崎の知
should
り合
I
い
take it that you're an acquaintance of Aozaki's or whatever? Despite being told otherwise, Sojiro could not help but stand on ceremony. Oh my guy. His clumsy effort to make the question sound casual only jumbled it further. The visitor's eyes narrowed again in displeasure.
それ、その
Would you stop
青崎
calling her
っていうの
Aozaki?
やめて
It's
くれない
beginning to grate on me. Just use Aoko. The woman kept the rest of her expression indifferent as she slowly raised the cup to take a sip. Smiling, she tolerated the tea that Aoko and Alice regularly criticized as bitter and clumsily brewed. Sojiro had yet to learn that society thoughtfully awarded participation trophies to people merely for trying, regardless of the outcome.
ほら、立ってないですわ。
I don't like being looked down on. Okay? Noting a slight familiarity to her manner of speech. I mean, she could be an Aoko family member, you know? It was almost as if... Oh, wait! Woman in a green coat. Was she at the pachinko parlor? Did he see her and recognize that she was somebody, I don't know if it was dangerous? I just know, if I remember correctly, and again, please correct me if I'm wrong, he went to go see his manager and he's like, I need to leave. I don't know. stir forgotten memories. Noticing his reaction, the woman became visibly delighted.
思い出した？
I can tell you I was as surprised as you are. I came all the way here to see Aoko, and instead I find you standing here there to greet me. Now that she was chuckling, Sojiro remembered everything. He had only glimpsed her for a moment, but there was no mistaking it. There it is. Yes, it had to be her. The woman smoking the long cigarette who had cleaned out the pachinko parlor. Oh, she smokes too? Like, a cigarette? Oh, dude, the aesthetic. Oh no. You gave me quite the fright. You took one look at me and ran away. You hurt my feelings, you know. In spite of her words, she clearly enjoyed the memory. She was right. He'd mistaken her for the murderous shadow, Aoko, in the park from the previous night and fled in mortal terror. Right. Even though it was clearly a case of mistaken identity, he could now see why he had mixed them up. So that's why they feel similar. Finally, Sojiro realized who the visitor was. He chided himself for not realizing it sooner. You must be. Just as he was about to say it, she held up her hand to interrupt him. She pointed at him like she was aiming a gun.
ごめんなさい。君の仕草がちょっと
Your
可愛く
reaction was
て
just so cute, I got
自己
carried away
紹介
teasing
が遅れ
you.
たけど
Okay, so she's a family member. It's a little late, but my name is Toko Aozaki. How did you say it?
自己紹介が遅れたけど私は青崎東子
Okay, yeah, very easy.
率直
Aozaki
に言うと
Toko.
青子の実の姉ってわけね
There you go. Aoko's big sister. That figured. No wonder he'd been charmed at first. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that, Shizuki? Huh? It wasn't hard to envision Toko as a not-too-distant future version of Aoko with her smile that imparted courage to any who glimpsed it. Oh, dude, you're smitten with her already. I mean, we had the whole thing at the amusement park. Oh, that's a whole other thing. We can talk about that later, but... Only, while Aoko was earnest and diligent, Toko seemed to be shrewd and playful.
あの子が困って
I heard my sister was in
いい加減
trouble,
忠告してあげ
so I
る気
came all the
で
way over here to see her, or set her straight. Aoko's sister chuckled coyly while sipping her tea. She does kind of have a similar voice to her. An older, but similar voice. Lured by her charm, Sojiro sat on the sofa as well. He felt like he could relax a little, now that the initial shock of an unexpected guest had subsided. Just like that, it was almost 5 in the afternoon. Aoko and Alice would be returning from their excursion soon. I wonder what their reaction's gonna be like. What have we got? This was Misaki City's only subway line. Only half a year had passed since its opening at the end of the fairly new platform. There, the two girls stood. 6:30. Idling for 20 minutes, yet to return to street level. Aoko. There was a hint of irritation in Alice's
ちょっと待
voice.
ってあともう一回だけ
One more? Not done yet? Wait, what do you mean? It was rare to see her act this childish. No doubt Tobimaru would consider his behavior more strange than cute if he were here. From the end of the platform, Aoko peered into the creeping darkness to where the tracks
あなたの
led.
趣味か
Strangest taste. What is she doing? Any other day and she would have been fine heading back by herself, but today she was in a good mood and decided to humor Aoko. Knowing full well that her rare spells of positivity were about as fragile as freshly fallen snow, she hoped to go home while she was still in high spirits. Eyes closed, her placid demeanor conveyed her feelings well enough. Thus, the two of them waited on the platform alone for a subway train they had no intention of riding. The subway had recently opened for service, and the people of Misaki were humble folk. For now, few passengers were drawn to the novelty and high prices of the new train. Thanks to the low foot traffic, the platform was still as good as new. There was something primeval about a subway devoid of people. It was a picture of tranquility, free of human interference. Not just silent, but lifeless. This was a realm unmolested by living creatures where only speechless organisms dwelt. The harshly artificial fluorescent lighting underscored its soullessness. It was a cave where light ended and shadows began, where riderless vessels disappeared into the dark. The platform was wedged between two tracks, like a jetty built upon a subterranean sea. In this place, far removed from the world above, Aoko waited with eyes closed for the familiar rumble. What are you trying to do, girlie? They delayed their return to rest. The reason was simple. Oh, Aoko! Aoko Ozaki enjoyed the soothing sound of passing subway
今
trains.
年はもうライブハウスに行けそうもないし
Oh, wait, what? Wait, that's kind of cute. She just likes the feeling of them passing by. It's kind of silly. It's a little goofy and very specific. Like, it's kind of, but also, it's great. All right, she won't get to see any more live bands this year. They'd watch 3 trains come and go. Aoko waited for the next train with anticipation. According to the display board, the next train was due to arrive in 5 minutes, and from the dark tunnel came wind and rumbling. Oh. Oh? A purposefully placed bounded field now surrounded the platform. There was no sign of any station personnel, and entrances and exits were few and narrow. The lack of bystanders made the field hardly necessary. Suddenly, 6 figures appeared in front of the stairs to the surface. They all shared the same face, motionless, and with smiles like the crescent moon, they stared at Aoko and Alice.
鈍っているにも程があるわ
I can't believe I missed that. Alice let out a quiet, dejected sigh.
どうかした？
Alice? What's wrong?
どうも何も
Must you ask?
この駅で降りたのは
Didn't you
あな
notice
た
that
と
you and I were the
私
only
だけど
ones to get off at this station?
そりゃね。
I mean,
相変わら
this
ずここの
subway's
地下
usually
鉄
pretty dead anyway, so Aoko trailed off, tutting in annoyance.
で、そういうアリスは
So-
目つきがついたの。
What tipped you off?
憂鬱なこと
The
に
impending
簡単に
gloom I felt a moment
青子
ago.
ばかり責め
I'm
ら
not
れない
entirely blaming you. This wouldn't have happened if we were a better team.
つまらない例え話は
Enough sniveling. They traded stoic and calm words, never moving or making eye contact. In contrast, the figures near the stairs began to stir. As though regressing from primates to wild beasts, they dropped prone in unison and scrambled forth like man-sized ants. They advanced as a stream, one after another. Soon, the clattering came not just from the platform entrances, but from the subway tunnel as well. At a glance, they numbered at least 30 strong. The eerie skittering multiplied, echoing off the subway walls.
信じられない。
This is
だけの
ridiculous.
自動人形
Forget Misaki.
集めたら
This many automata, you could take over all of southern France.
ええ
True,
もっとも
but I doubt there would be much demand for dolls of such poor quality.
なんだ。
Junk is junk, after all. One of the horde leapt forward in response to Aoko's insult. Phew! It was a sudden charge like a hurtling dump truck. Alice remained still. As though expecting the attack, Aoko swung her right arm in an arc. Get off of me! The blue missile of light was easily repelled. Her magic bullet snap had little to no effect on the puppets. They scrambled over each other like frogs, heads jerking and twisting in search
全
of
部で
prey.
30か。悪いけど、一
I,
人でやらせ
I
てもらう
count
わよ。
30 total. Sorry, Alice,
実
but
力と思われた
I'm
ものだ
gonna
と
need you to
理解
hang back. I can't have you thinking last time was my best. As she spoke to Alice, who was still sitting on a bench, Aoko stepped toward the edge of the platform. Among the myriad regrets she still had from the amusement park, the House of Mirrors stung the most. She had been caught off guard in her last battle against that puppet. But today, she'd come prepared, and she had Alice as backup. Oh, there's one in particular in that set of puppets that is like looking up at you, looking directly, almost like dead-eyeing the camera, as it were, the screen. I hate it. I hate it. This time, she would restore her honor, and...
私の後ろまで下がって青子
Get
そこにいた
Get
ら
behind me,
あ
Aoko.
なたまで食べて
It'll
し
eat
ま
you
う
too if you stand there. All it took to stop Aoko was one raised finger. Shit, is there something more at play?
待って、アリス、それは。
Alice, wait, you can't... In the depths of the ocean black, the bells of night chimed out. The jetty, as if embraced by a sea god like Poseidon or Waratsumi, became awash with white motes, which seemed to engulf
青子のやり方
everything.
じゃ後が残るでしょう
You always leave a mess,
もうじき
Aoko.
次の電車も来
Not
る
to
し
mention, the next train will be arriving soon, and... Behind the white veil, her form blurred and stretched upward. She was like a melancholy ballerina. The figures surrounding the prima ballerina bristled in response to the strange aura. The puppets were inhuman mystical vessels. They had far more reason to fear Alice than they did the human Aoko. They began to flee. Whoever their master was, they sensed enough danger to order a retreat. However, it was too late. The dancers were captivated by their prima, transfixed in place, as if their Achilles tendons had been severed.
それに
Besides,
気分を台無しにさ
it
れ
wasn't just you who ruined my mood. She removed her black glove. Unlike her subdued demeanor at the mansion, Alice's aura away from home was a biting, frigid blizzard that none could approach. Her discarded gloves floated down, settling on the platform deck. The pale haze grew even thicker. Terrified, the massive shadows cried out for mercy.
さあ
Now,
ごっこ遊びをしましょ
let
う
us play make-believe. With the nebulous mist, a dark fairy tale came to life. Inside that fog, only the macabre melody of her voice felt real. Oh man. Oh my. Feast, grind, crunch. At last, the final puppet fell. On the walls, on the floor, on the ceiling, the grotesque, mechanical sounds of their demise filled the air. Their twisted shrieks plastered the subway surfaces like indelible bloodstains. Some amorphous abomination had, hastily yet just slowly enough to savor the taste, chewed and devoured all 30 puppets. Only a lone severed arm remained on the platform.
持ってきてたのあれ。
You had that thing on you this whole time? Aoko spoke sideways to Alice, making no attempt to hide her disgust. The brutal gluttony they just witnessed had a name. It was the Beast of the Fog, one of her 3 great ploys kickshaw, the Minster's Rosehound. Wandersnatch. Perhaps Vondersnatch? I'm not sure. Aoko's words stung, since Alice was the one harboring its true form. The Great 3 ploys wielded terrifyingly powerful curses. While Wandersnatch had its uses in combat, Aoko was not at all amused to learn that her companion had been carrying it around town all day. Without hyperbole, it was akin to going out for dinner with a bunker buster bomb in one's pocket.
まあ、次からは一言お願いね。
Just tell me next time, okay?
他のプロイならいいけど。
Other ploys are fine, but
今
not
のや
that
つだ
one.
けは別よ。
Try to leave it at home, would you?
悪かったわ。
I apologize.
でも、
It's just that I haven't let him feed lately, so... Alice walked slowly toward the severed arm. Indeed, all she'd done was feed her ploy. No one had died, and no blood had been shed since the meal was made of plastic.
ちょっと。
Aoko, over here. Alice picked up the arm and beckoned Aoko, beckoned Aoko over. Look at this. Until now, we were thinking our opponent was a puppet master, but I think we were wrong.
わかる。この人形
Can you
た
see
ちは
it?
新しすぎる。
These puppets are too new.
この子たちが
They
作ら
must
れ
have
た
been
のは
made no
17
earlier than the
世紀以降
17th century. Even that seems hard to believe.
なんですって。
What did you just say? Although it sounded counterintuitive, automata typically performed better with age. Since the 17th century, the magical concept of using puppets and mannequins had declined. Consequently, it became much harder to produce combat-effective automata. If one wanted to build an automaton these days, it was far more cost-effective to train even a low-class familiar, and it would be better constructed too. Therefore, it was common for modern puppet masters to collect parts made before the 17th century and use them in their creations. The high price of automata often came not from their antiquated combat abilities, but from the rarity of the parts used to make them. Despite that, the enemy mage controlling these puppets used them as fodder, as if they grew on trees. The only conclusion to be drawn was that their current opponent was a spoiled upstart with wealth, but no territory. Or so Alice and Aoko imagined
それと
anyway.
もう一つ。
Something else?
この構造は
The internal
Misaki's
formulae reminded me of
の結界に似てる。
Misaki's bounded
ま
field.
るで自分
It's
た
as
ち
if their
こ
maker is asserting that these are the rightful
この町。
defenders of our city. Alice presented the evidence to Aoko, who was still waving fog out of her face. The revelation stirred profound surprise, and then rapid realization. I
そそうい
see.
うことなのね。
Now I get it. Aoko growled, violently smashing the arm on the ground, her face twisted with anger and a
惜
hint of
しげもな
fear.
く骨董品を出してくると思った
She
ら
didn't bother holding back any of her
そもそも
knickknacks
出し惜
because
し
they
む
weren't
ほど
worth
のもの
keeping
じゃ
in
なか
reserve
った
to begin with.
確かにあの女
That's
な
why
ら
the town's barrier didn't have any
町の
effect on her, and how she knew my
結界にも反応しないし
weaknesses.
私の欠点も知って
No wonder she
当
found
然
to remove the sigil so
視
easily.
点の退去だって簡単にやってのけるわよ
Set her
ね
straight, huh? Toko,
だって
your sister, big sister versus little sister. Great dynamic. It's always really fun when the siblings fight. Alice quietly listened to Aoko's furious rambling, bemused.
青子
So you're saying the one who made these is none other than?
昔から
That's
物
right.
を作ることに関してはズバ抜
When
け
it
てい
came
た
to
から
making
ね
things, she always had me beat. Aoko glared at the severed arm. She was furious at its creator and herself for taking so long to figure it out.
でも
But
よ
it
う
all
や
adds
く
up
認め
now.
たくないけど
As much as I hate to
今
admit
回
it,
の
our
敵
current
は
enemy is my big
間
sister,
違
no
いな
doubt
くこ
about
の
it.
土地の元継承者
She's the one who was meant to inherit our
Aozaki.
land, Alice. I see. Okay. Okay. The desolate subway platform returned to silence, and Aoko's words lingering uncomfortably in the air. Also, everything's clean now. The walls. Oh! The world's most terrifying animals end. Hello. A short time ago, at the Koonji estate, the videotape finished playing. The VCR had automatically stopped playback, foregoing the need to hit the stop button to avoid the static storm. What remained on screen was the reflection of Sojiro and Toko Aozaki sitting opposite each other in conversation. I'm sure that they are not going to like this when they get home. A direct attack without warning because their secret was exposed. Aoko never did play well with others. It was hard to tell if she was being patronizing or indifferent. Toko Aozaki took a sip from her cup as she listened to Sojiro's story. She would have savored the anecdote about the amusement park kerfuffle were it not for the poor excuse for a cup of tea in her hands.
ありがとう
I feel so informed. I haven't seen her in ages, so I can only imagine the kind of woman she's grown into.
And
as her sister, the least I can do is apologize. I'm sorry you had to experience such a tragic event, Sojiro. That girl does have a tendency to be rather headstrong. You said it. Sojiro was enjoying the conversation despite having to relive those events. About an hour passed by while the two of them sat in conversation, neither short on topics to discuss. Aoko was an easy topic for both of them, so the conversation centered mostly around her. And I hope you don't mind me asking, she's been curious. While she kept her posture dignified, Toko's eyes shone with eager curiosity. Her elegance caused Sojiro's heart to beat a little faster. This poor guy. Despite his caution, he found himself speaking politely. She smiled affectionately, as if she found him pleasing. You surprised me the last time when you ran away, but today I'm surprised by something new. Is that some kind of in vogue fashion accessory? Come again? Toko tilted her head, her eyes fixated on the collar that Aoko had snugly secured around his neck. Is that a new style of choker? You know, I could swear it was a... The bespectacled woman made a show of holding her tongue. On a completely unrelated note, in another decade, similar accessories would become a standard part of any visual kei artist's wardrobe. Oh, not at all. It's obviously a collar. For dogs. I knew it! It's rather charming and very much suits you, I might add. I've got a feeling that this woman is bad news and dangerous. I mean, notwithstanding the attacks on Alice and Aoko, but now this too? He's blushing, poor guy. I put it on by myself. Who gave it to you? Was it Aoko or Alice? Aoko. Nodded in satisfaction. That makes you Aoko's property, she coldly muttered. With this, the cordial atmosphere began to turn. Sojiro nodded, naturally oblivious to the edge in her words. She does like to own things. The blunt observation made Toko burst out laughing. Apparently, Toko was the quirky type of person to laugh when least appropriate. As her laugh tapered off into a giggle, she picked up her now empty teacup. Okay. How funny considering she hates blue things on account of the blue character in her name. What, Ao? Yeah. Would you like another cup? I'm not sure when they'll be back. They'll be returning shortly. Finally, the strangeness of her phrasing dawned on him and he tilted his head in confusion. Miss Toko. Toko sighed once. Forgive me, Sojiro, but would you allow me to take off my glasses? He wondered why she would need to ask his permission, but nodded anyway. That's very kind of you. Though I do wish I could have enjoyed more of your hospitality. Toko touched the temples of her glasses. If one were to look closely enough, one might have noticed the scars on her slender fingers. They were small, fine scars from years of repeated cuts. Before her fingers even left the eyeglass frames, the spectacles crumbled. It happened so fast that Sojiro barely registered it. The frame cracked into pieces, sliding down her face and into her lap. Okay. Okay. So she's, we've got a twofer? We got a 2-in-1? Kudos to you, sister. 30-in-1 go, not bad. The low voice belonged to someone entirely different. All she had done was take off her glasses, but her elegant grace had completely faded. Any semblance of warmth and kindness had disappeared. Sitting upon the sofa was a deplorable mage, her very presence darkening the room. Sojiro sat speechless. Oh, man. Across from him was a completely changed Toko, glaring back at him menacingly. More malice and magical energy was now emanating from Toko than when Aoko had tried to kill Sojiro. She seemed titillated at the prospect of the boy's shock at her transformation. Such expectations, however, were often left unfulfilled when it came to Sojiro. You broke your glasses, Sojiro blurted out in surprise. Her hand stopped as she reached for a cigarette, the wind taken out of her sails. I see. That aura was given off by this version of her. Or this person in her. You have another pair. No, forget them. It's not as if I actually need them to see correctly. As long as myself exists, data is received subjectively by my 5 senses. The entire world is in a fog. You shouldn't trust what you can only see with your eyes. Oh. Her speech had taken on a clinical tone. This, too, did not seem to shake Sojiro. So what you're saying is... Toko scowled as if she'd found a bug in her food. She needed to be blunt with the boy. By some twist of fate, it was a headache she now unknowingly shared with her sister.
意味も何もない。
It's like this,
青子たちの
Sojiro.
帰り道
I placed some
多少
obstacles
の
in
障
Aoko's
害
way.
を置いただけだ。
I'm only here now because she's still dealing with them.
君は青子
As I
の持ち
mentioned, you
物
are
だ。
merely her
なら
property.
ことさら丁寧に
So
教え
I
てや
won't
る
worry
必要
that
もな
pretty
い。
little head of yours.
告白してしまうと
I
ね
must confess, dear
Sojiro.
Sojiro, I am your enemy. Oh man, look at that! Look at her! Ooh! Though he understood her words, the clock's second hand would rotate fully twice twice over before anyone next spoke. They sat across from each other, eyes locked. Sojiro's shoulders tightened nervously. He had finally understood the true danger of the situation. Surprised, Toko asked with a grin. She was still the same woman, but without her glasses, Toko's smile was rather sinister. Even though you're Aozaki's sister? Her smile pierced him as he asked the obvious. Toko was no longer surprised that Sojiro would be more concerned about the safety of others than his own. In just one short hour, she'd come to understand Sojiro Shizuki better than he knew himself.
逆だよ。
On the contrary,
姉だから敵なん
it's
だ。
because I'm her sister. I'm
私には
obligated to take away what is
青子から
hers.
的なもの
I won't stop until I crush every last thing
その全てを
she
踏みに
holds
じらなけれ
physically
ば気が済
and
まない。
emotionally dear.
尺度として言うな
For
ら、
instance,
も
if
し
she has
青子
come
が
to
こ
rely
の
on
町
this
に
city,
頼って
then
い
I
た
will
のな
happily
ら
go so far as to
まず
destroy it.
けど、
But you,
君のことは予想外だった。
I wasn't expecting you. Toko, her eyes closed, felt sorrow. Behind her troubled expression, there was a silent conflict.
世の平等に起こるべき
I don't know
か
if I should rage at the impartiality of the world or lament the serendipity of life.
これも
I suppose it's all
無力という
part of the
無垢な部
counterforce.
外者を手にかける
Innocent
のは
outsiders
世の
get killed all the
常だ
time in this world of ours,
こ
but
の
I've never
手に
met
なったのは初め
anyone
てだ。
quite like you.
いや、
Or rather,
Someone
never
from
imagined a
the
guy like
universe.
you could exist. Toko sighed at the ceiling and stirred in her seat. She seemed to have overcome an unexpected moment of uncertainty.
君は青子の切り札には見えない。
You don't look like Aoko's ace in the
排
hole.
除しておくまでもない。
You're just a dim but nice stranger, too pitiful to put out of his
だ
misery.
から放ってお
But as
き
much
た
as I
いんだ
want to leave you be, my sixth sense is screaming that I should erase you now and be done with it. More plainly put, she had made up her mind to kill him. Though Sojiro was somewhat flattered at how grossly she inflated his importance, he was struck more by the karmic irony. Toko had arrived at the same conclusion as her sister. However, this was no time for idle thoughts. Sojiro readied himself to stand up from the sofa in such a way as to not draw attention to the plan so clearly written all over his face, to make a run for
バ
it.
カ者。
Silly
こういう時は半端に動
boy.
くな。
Don't give yourself away like
逃
that.
げるなら
If
さ
you're
っさ
going
と
to
逃
run,
げ
then
る。
run. But if you value your
交渉
life,
する
then
なら
don't move
てこ
a
でも
muscle.
なんというか
In other words,
そ
you
んな
won't
風
make
に
it
動か
halfway
れ
to
る
the
と
door before I
その
get
気
you.
がなくともつい
Now be
反
a
応
good
してしま
boy
うだ
and
ろう。
sit still.
と
So you're
殺さないんですか
not going to kill me?
今のところはね、
For the time being.
私は君が
I
気に入
like
った
you,
人
kid.
違う。
Well, not exactly. The truth is,
正しくは
I might be the only one who can save you. What? She looked the perplexed Sojiro straight in the eyes. Though actually brown, her eyes gleamed a piercing red, like the edge of blade. Ooh, hi, ma'am. It was at this moment an overwhelming sense of dizziness overcame Sojiro. His mind went numb, like he couldn't tell who he was. It was like drifting into a sinister sleep from which he'd never wake. Sojiro clenched his jaw, desperate to maintain consciousness. Toko's eyes devoured him like a bottomless pit of quicksand. In that moment, it all became clear to him. It no longer mattered that she was Ako's sister, or that she was Alice's sworn enemy. Toko Azaki's deadly battle with the girls had become his battle. Which is why, when you find yourself feeling a special spark for a stranger met mere moments ago, that feeling is not to be trusted. You may simply be attempting to fill a void shaped like yourself with more emptiness. Sojiro tried to drag his body away from this heretofore unencountered sense of danger, but found that it would not respond. Toko tilted her head forward at him, eyes fixated on his.
君の思う通り、私は
Your
君と
instincts
似
weren't
たところ
wrong.
が
You do have something in
そ
common
れ
with
とも
me.
君が
Or
私
maybe
に
you're just
近い
close to
の
me.
かな。
Maybe we're picky about all the same foods. That's something to consider.
問題は
The problem is, you're
君が
more
私より偏っている。
biased than I am. Biased. She clearly used a different definition of the word than the one Sojiro knew. Biased. It meant that he was alone, that he was an outsider who didn't belong in this town. A sudden and seething anger eclipsed his gentle heart.
俺一人じゃないですけど
I'm not alone. Sojiro shot back with all the enmity he could muster as he faced this witch named Toko Aozaki. If he had not, he feared he would never escape her gaze.
だろうな。
See?
だからこそ
That's precisely
君は
what makes you
偏っているんだ
biased. And the sooner you realize
早
that,
く
the
それ
better.
に気づきなさい
It's the fastest way out of your predicament.
人間なんてたくましい
Humans are
もん
hardly
でね
creatures. No matter what life throws at them, they find a way to survive. Or are hardy creatures, my bad.
青子にはそれは許
But
せない
Aoko can't tolerate them.
あれは他人であれ
Because she's the sort of stranger who can't stand anything. She leaned over the table, grabbed his collar, and roughly pulled him toward her.
そ
But
んな
enough
ことは
about
いい
her.
んだ
All I care about is getting to have you. In
ただ純粋に
fact, I wanted you from the moment you mumbled your name like it's not even
自
yours.
分の認識が不明で
I want you
自
with
分
your
自
lack
身
of
が不能と
self-awareness
感じる
and your sense of
未来という
powerlessness.
ものがとても
The
自分に
future must
関
seem
わり
like
のあ
such
る
a
こととは
foreign
思えない
concept to someone like you.
となれば必然
Your mind
心情は
inevitably
過
looks to the past.
しかし
But just as
所詮
moi,
ソアの前の
the
モア
lesser
の
self,
ように
comes before
正常な流
soi,
れの前には時
the
間
greater
の
self.
方が押し戻されてしまう
the normal flow of time will always reject
それ
time
も
travel.
私
It's
の
the same for me as it is for you. Ugh,
なんて無様
I've
な
done it
私
again, haven't I?
なん
How
て
could you
哀れ
possibly
な
even begin to... Toko trailed off mid-sentence. As she pulled Sojiro closer, her own eyes reflected in his, she noticed the merciful expression on her face. Sojiro got to thinking. He held no hostility toward this woman. He bore her no grudge, harbored no desire to kill her. He was aware only of his anger and aimless compassion. He wished that he could give her the answer she wanted.
あなたの言っていることは
I don't really know what you're talking about. Sojiro replied apologetically, a verbal reply to the visible question he perceived in her eyes. Toko showed no sign of disappointment. Instead, the corners of her lips turned upward in delight.
そうか
Of course.
君
You
に
wouldn't
は
comprehend
言
the
葉
language
意
of
味
mage
深なセリ
craft.
フ回し
And here
が
I
あ
am
る
trying to
のに
wax
してやろうとも思
philosophical
っ
to
た
you.
が
How foolish of
い
me.
や失敗失敗
Small courtesies
小
can
綺
have the
麗な
opposite
建前は
effect
逆
after
効
all.
果だった
I should have put it in plainer, more primitive terms.
いいよますます気に入った
Do like you, Sojiro. Her fingers dug into his throat as if she were tearing at the leather. Perhaps he could be hers if only she could rip it off.
少年
Sweet boy.
青子なぞより私のも
Leave
とに
Aoko be with me.
使い道はない
I may
が
not
ここ
have
ぐら
a
いは
use
して
for you, but at least I can protect
手
you.
が空いた
Or
時
maybe
な
if
ら
I'm bored, you could be
気晴らしに
my plaything. It had taken many approaches, but she seemed to have decided on this one. The lengths to which she went to seduce him were not lost on Sojiro, and truth be told, they were not wholly unwelcome. But back to the matter at
それは
hand.
お断りします
I respectfully decline. Sojiro chose the direct response, as he did.
なぜ
だって
Why? Because it wouldn't be good for you. He had confidence in that, at least. Toko's overestimation of him aside, Sojiro knew for a fact that he had to escape this woman's clutches. This tete-a-tete can only be concluded by one of its two participants, Toko or the individual she was currently infatuated with. On a hunch, the boy mustered all the conviction he could feign. She gently removed her hand from his collar and jabbed him in the chest, causing him to topple back onto the sofa.
そうか
Very well.
なら
If
仕
that's
方
the
がな
way
い
it must be,
君も
I'll just have to think of you as Aoko's personal property then. The scarred red mage quietly stood up.
青子が帰ってくる頃だから
Well,
私は行くよ。
Aoko will be here at any moment. I'd best be on my
青
way.
子では私には
She has no chance of
勝てない
defeating me.
とだけ伝えておいてくれればいい
Tell her that for me, won't you?
それを
Sure, but... Before she left the room, Toko paused to let Sojiro continue. Like a student humbly inquiring of a teacher, Sojiro pointed to the object in Toko's hand and
あ
asked,
のそのカップどうするんです
What are you going to do with that cup? Surprised, she looked down at the teacup in her right hand that she had forgotten she was holding. She hadn't even realized that she had been holding the cup the entire time.
これ
Oh, this?
せっかくだか
I
ら
might
も
as
ら
well take it with me. The act of taking something without the owner's permission is commonly referred to as theft. However, this was more likely the typical relationship between Aoko and Toko, share and share alike, and so forth. Sojiro nodded to show that he understood. Unsure if his nod was sincere or not, Toko smiled that gleeful grin for the second time since taking her glasses off.
やはり変わり種だ
You
ね
certainly are an odd one, the question of your worth aside. For just a moment, she had returned to the affable Toko Ozaki he met before the glasses came off. Leaving him with the image of her smile, she departed the mansion. Her broken glasses remained on the drawing room table. Here we go. We're home. Wait, I gotta hear her say it. Hold on. Tadaima! No sooner had the eerie visitor left did Aoko and Alice return home. Despite Aoko's sour mood, she seemed as merry as ever. Despite everything that had happened and their trip having its fair share of problems, she still had fun. Whereas Alice was her usual stoic self, her manner not unlike a parent following behind a rampaging toddler cleaning up their mess. The scene of their return was like something out of a TV sitcom, and lost in thought, Sojiro forgot to greet
宗次郎
them.
留守中何か
Did anything happen? Aoko asked, more so out of etiquette than curiosity, while removing her coats. Without answering, he stood up from the
そりゃ
sofa.
半日分の出来事
Took up
それよ
half
り
my
寒かった
day.
だろ
Other than that, it was just
お茶
cold. Want me to make some tea?
ああお願いこっちも一から作戦練り上げようってとこだから
Huh? You can't plan anything without a hot cup of tea in your hands? Something feels off. He was following his same tea brewing routine as always, but somehow something did not feel the same. As though in a trance, Sojiro returned to the drawing room where they were sitting down and placed the tea on the table.
これからどうするつもりとりあえず足で
We'll have
探
to
すし
search
か
for
な
her
い
on
わ
foot.
ね
We can't play this one defensively if we spend time fortifying defenses here. She'll just have more time to create more puppets. He stood up and spoke
探すっ
abruptly.
て瞳子さんを
Oh my god. Are you going to look for Miss Toko?
それ以外誰を探すって
Yeah, who else would
ち
we...
ょっと
Wait,
あんた今なんて言ったの
what did you just
瞳
say?
子さんなんだろ
瞳子
青崎たちの敵は
She's your enemy, right? You just missed her. He answered so casually, Aoko standing there dumbfounded. Alice stood up from the sofa and went to where the two of them were standing. Her typically kind and somber features turned reproachable.
しずきくんその人
Shizuki,
何かしてい
tell me exactly what she did when she was here.
お茶を飲んで
We drank some tea,
メガネを
and then
外
she
し
took off her glasses.
よく思い出せないな
Huh. I can't remember anything after that. What was once a clear memory seemed to have been scrubbed clean from his mind. Sojiro was overcome by the same dizziness he had felt earlier. Oh! A sharp, dry smack echoed through the room. What snapped him out of his haze was an unexpected slap from Alice.
二度は言わないわ
I won't warn you
他
again.
人を
Never let
私の家
anyone
に
else
立ち
into
入
my
ら
house. Deep within her eyes, beyond the normal cool indifference, was an intense fury. Realizing, however, that it was no ordinary anger, Sojiro understood how careless he had been.
アリスにとってここが
I'm sorry.
大事な場所なのは
This place is very important to you. I should have known better. A heavy silence followed. Both Sojiro and Alice stood there, chained to the spot by their own regret. Aoko looked on in amazement, wondering if they would stay this way all night if left
あ
alone.
のね
So,
姉貴を
hey,
通した
I know
掃除
Sojiro
は
screwed
悪い
up
け
by
ど
letting my sister
言って
in,
な
but
かったアリスも悪いでしょ
Alice, you never told him he shouldn't.
子供じゃないんだから
We're not children
いつ
anymore,
ま
so
で
how
も
about we
反
put
省
this
してない
behind
で
us and focus on the
もっ
problem
と
at
前
hand, okay? Big sigh, Alice hung her head and sat back down at Aoko's insistence. Sojiro stood where he was, nursing his stinging right cheek. Pain was pain, but he knew how to take a knock. More to the point, the crisp strike from Alice snapped him out of his fog, jogging his
思い出し
memory.
た青子
I
ちゃんは私には勝
remember
てないって伝えておい
She
てほしい
told me to tell you that you have no chance of defeating her, Aoko.
ふーん
Pretty full of
大した自信ね。
herself. Anything else?
他は
She also said, well,
基本的に世間
most
話
of it
だ
was
った
small
という
talk.
か
To be honest, she said a lot of other stuff I didn't
So-
really understand. Considering the small talk was mostly about Aoko and her flaws, Sojiro decided it would be better to take that part to his
大河と
grave.
翔があの
She
人
mentioned the greater and lesser self. I wonder if
と
she's
ころ
been
で
to
総十
India.
郎
She must have
Anta.
done something to you. He had nothing to be ashamed of, but he looked away guiltily
何かって
anyway. What did she do exactly? You said you couldn't remember what she said, right? And up until a second ago, you looked like a zombie. You remember right up to when she took her glasses off, which means you must have been entranced by her mystic eyes. As quickly as she had jumped to that conclusion, Aoko went quiet again as if the information was of little importance. But it was not enough to detract Sojiro from bringing it up again.
青崎
What are mystic
魔力を
eyes?
帯びた目の
Eyes
ことよ
infused with magical energy. Simple
簡単な
forms
も
of
のは
mystic eyes
一時
can
的な
cause temporary
困難
confusion, while more advanced
上
ones
級
can
な
kill
もの
with
は
just a
睨んだだ
glance.
けで相手を殺す
Stuff like that.
まバロールみたいな魔
Eyes
眼の
like
持ち主
Balor's
な
are
んて
really
伝
just the
説だ
stuff
け
of
だろうし
legends. If they're eyes like that, we could really
Somo-somo
use them right about now. Huh? Yeah, no, she completely lost on the poor
わかりや
guy.
すく言うと
It's like my magic bullet, only you used your eyes to shoot
目
it.
から
You can
青
shoot
崎か
bullets from your eyes? Sojo's confusion deepened along with Aoko's
だか
frustration.
らあなた
Anyway, you looked into Toko's eyes after she blinked once, right? That's the moment she put the whammy on you with her mystic eyes. Some mages even replace their eyes with cat's eye stones, but my sister doesn't need to bother with that. She was born with hers. She doesn't even need to say anything to use them. She can just blink like a camera shutter. Sojiro pounded his fist in understanding. Now he thought about it. He vaguely remembered her doing something like that. Everything after was foggy and muddled, and her mystic eyes seemed the only logical
その
cause.
話は分かったけど
That's one mystery
瞳子さんは
solved.
青崎のお
Isn't she
姉
your
さんだ
sister?
った
Why would sisters try to kill each other? He knew it was not something you should ask, but he did it anyway. The question was against the rules. He had no business being involved in this dispute. So she's gonna collect her thoughts.
話してあげる
Here's what you need to know now that you met her, besides keeping you in the dark would be more dangerous. But no more
引き
questions.
返すのはなしね
This is my story to tell. Got it? She stared down Sojiro until he nodded slowly in recognition. Knowing him, she knew this was confirmation enough. The conversation was becoming oddly friendly again, but Aoko sat up a little straighter as she prepared to tell the
姉貴の
tale.
話をするってことは
Before we talk about my sister, I have to explain the Ozaki family, and more importantly, magecraft versus magic. We're gonna cover a lot of ground, and it'll include stuff you can't tell anyone, but we can always wipe your memories later, so it's fine. Aoko made sure to add that disclaimer as a condition for telling him the information in the first place. You see, Sojiro, magecraft follows a set of common rules. And that is where we're gonna leave it today because we are gonna get into a whole set of exposition. This is all the stuff that I was hoping to know earlier, but now it's coming after a bunch of important plot things. I like how this is picking up. I'm invested. You guys, I'm sure you guys can see I'm engaged. I'm feeling it. I'm liking what we've got going here. I'm really excited to see where they take it. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I definitely did. And I will see you guys in the next video. So for now, have a good rest of your day, and I will see you soon. Bye.